I grew up in this mill. I come to work here back in 1966 when I was 14 years old. And believe me, I have seen some changes in this town. When I was growing up, that 6-lane highway out there, that was Mr. Connor's cornfield.
Wow.
The main highway through here was this little street running along the river here. That is old US 41. You get on that street, it would take you all the way to Miami, Florida. We did not even have a police department when I was growing up. Thank God. We have more police officers per capita than any city in the United States. 6,300 people that live here. We have 105 police officers. We also had 13 million visitors. Yeah, very low crime. We just have a lot of traffic. That rod run. Last year they had 40,000 registered hot rods. They had 55,000 unregistered. Okay, 1820. A man by the name of Isaac Love came into this area, and he built a forge for processing iron ore. That forge stood right where the gift shop is. 10 years later, in 1830, his son William built this mill. This is the oldest business in the county. Wow. This mill has never been out of operation in 193 years. It also was the first post office for Pigeon Forge. You see, Pigeon Forge did not become a town until 1842. So for 12 years, that little room there, which has always been the mill office, also served as post office. This mill also holds the oldest water rights on this river. Now, but speaking of water rights, I am telling you from experience, if you own a water-powered business, you had better own the water rights above you. Somebody will put you out of business one day. It happened right here in this mill. About 45 years ago, I was working here at the time. One of the big RV parks, they moved in, they started building it in the spring of the year. They were finishing it up in the fall of the year. In the late fall, this river gets very, very low. This RV park, for them to open up, all they had to do was to get grass growing. They put 2 6-inch pumps in the river. The biggest pump that's on a fire truck is a 5-inch pump. They were pumping some massive amounts of water out of the river. They pumping out so much it shut the mill down. We went to talk to them. Right off the bat, they were pissed off because they asked to shut the pumps off while we talked to them. There were a couple of big decent pumps there. We explained to them that we held the water rights on the river. If they wanted to water grass, they'd use all the water they wanted at night time. But during the daytime, we had to have that water from this mill. They let us know real quick they'd never heard of water rights, and they were going to be pumping water until they had grass growing, and we needed to leave. Second day later, we had a court injunction filed against them. At the end of the third week, I got to hear the judge tell that RV park owner I had to pay this mill $40,000 for shutting them down. Since then, nobody else has really wanted to contest our water rights. Now, as far as the building itself goes, the floor seals, that's these big timbers holding the floors up. They are 14 by 14 inch yellow poplar, 40 feet long. When they framed the building, they used all green timbers on the building, but they used seasoned hickory tags. They fit those green timbers together. They drilled the holes, drove those pegs in there. As those timbers started drying, they started shrinking, and they got tighter and tighter around the pegs. Subsequently, the building got stronger as it aged. The flooring. 98% of all the flooring in this mill is the original flooring. See all these square-headed nails in the floor? Every one of those nails was a handmade nail made over in the old forge. So it took them a little while just to make enough nails to build this place. That big wheel on the outside, that wheel is 24 feet high, 3 feet wide. It weighs 4 tons. It's made in Cincinnati, Ohio, and it was installed in 1923. Now that big wheel gives us right at 50 horsepower. Besides it, this mill has 2 turbines in it. Now they set 12 feet below the water. You have one right here, and you have one over here. Each one of those will give us about 50 horsepower. Wow. So we got a total of 150 horsepower. That was a whole lot of horsepower back in this mill, real heyday. 1921. That was the year they concreted the dam. That was also the year they brought a generator in here. And they started generating the electricity for the town from 1921 up until 1924. To kind of give you an idea just how little amount of electricity people were actually using back then. This generator, it only cranked out about 1,200 kilowatt hours of electricity in a month's time. Now, I'm just like you and your wife. The electric company has never failed to send me a bill. I got mine last week. I used 1,349 kilowatt hours of electricity, meaning this mill would not even have run one modern day house.
Wow.
Yet, in 1924, they had 50 customers. Of course, you only had 1 or 2 lights in the house. If you got lucky, you got a reception. I have no idea what somebody would have wanted to have plugged into that reception. Everybody's electric bill was the same because everybody got the same amount of electricity. What would you say the electric bill was for a house?
Oh, back then? $3.50.
Well, you'll have the lights on.
All right. Oh, really?
$1.25. That was a lot of money.
I was splurging.
Yeah. Well, when they first started putting power on the power lines, I'm a retired heavy industrial electrician.
Okay.
When they first started putting power on the power lines, it was extremely expensive. As they started doing more and more of it, then the price started dropping. Now, like I said, they operated up until 1924. A new electric company came into the area. They bought the generator. They moved it down the river. They tied it in with a bank of the generators. They produced power up until 1933. Then TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority. Once they started producing power, nobody could really compete with them. Now, before we step on the other side of the stumps, later on in the tour, you're going to hear me talking about elevators.
All right.
Step back this way. This is what I'll be talking about.
Oh, whoa.
All of these boxes running up and down the center of the mill, they all have an elevator in them. They are carrying something upstairs. When it comes back downstairs, it's gravity fed. Yeah, these things, these run 3 stories.
Oh, yeah. That thing's whipping.
Okay, go ahead and step right in the corner. Now, these are our stones that we do all our grinding on. This is the second set of stones put in the mill. The original set lasted 147 years. Those stones are leaning against a porch on the far left-hand side.
I know them.
There is another set right directly out front, and I'll explain later on where those come from. But the original set comes from the southern coast of France. They're made of flint granite and extremely, and I do mean extremely hard stone. The company that made those millstones is still in business to this day.
Wow.
This is all they do is make millstones. The original cost of the stones, including the shipping from France to here, $600. $600 does not sound like a whole lot of money. In 1830, that was a small part.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a money chart at home. I looked it up one day. That would be the equivalency today of $17,700. So those stones are fairly expensive. Of course, they shipped them by water. Once they got them to Knoxville, they took them off the boat. They were loaded on sleds, and then teams of oxen pulled them up.
Wow.
Those oxen had about 3.5 days of hard pulling Each one of these stones weighed between 23 and 2,500 pounds. So they are quite heavy. 1977, the original set of stones started wearing out. We started looking for new stones. We called the company in France for a brand new set, not including the shipping, $52,000. This mill could not afford $52,000, so we started looking for a set of good used mill stones. Word had gotten out. We got a phone call one afternoon from a fellow. He lived between Memphis and Nashville in Jackson, Tennessee. He called, said he had a set of millstones he'd been thinking about selling. Wanted to know if we were interested in buying. We asked him the size of them. He told us they were the exact same size as our original set. He told him if they were in good shape, load those stones up, get them down here, we would pay in cash money. He loaded them up that evening. The next day, he was headed this way. He pulled in here about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. He backed the truck in out here. We were getting ready to unload the stones. Bob and Kathy Simmons, the owners of the mill. They come out. Bob wanted to examine those stones himself. The money was coming out of his bill phone. He got up on the truck. That first stone, he was fine. That second stone, the airline cracked through it. No safe. The man did not want to have to haul him all the way back to West Tennessee. So since 1977, we've had this man's junk leaning against our front porch. In the meantime, we are still looking for a set of stones. After about a month, we were really sweating. The original set was wearing out very quickly, and we had no idea where we could get a set of mill stones. The only thing we had going for us was a little bit of hope and faith in Bob, the owner of the mill. Bob happened to be a Civil War historian. Anything you wanted to know about the Civil War, that man could give you the answer on it. He given talks on it throughout the southeastern United States. He had met a lot of people. Some of these people had become friends. They were looking for millstones for us. Got a phone call one Sunday morning. They found us a set of millstones down in Georgia. This mill had burnt 100 years previous. Wow. Unfortunately for the man that owned the mill, but fortunate for us, he'd only got to run this mill for about 3 years before it caught on fire and burned. We knew this was nearly a brand new set of millstones. We were headed to Georgia the next morning. We got down there. For us to be able to buy this set of stones, we had to buy everything that was left over in that burnt out mill. We paid $5,000 for the whole works. We got everything hauled up here. We installed the stones. We'd been running these stones for about 2 weeks. Bob and I both had commented several times on how smooth they were running. I mean, they're extremely quiet. They were perfectly balanced, but most of all, they produced a tremendous amount of quality. We got to wondering, where did this set of stones originally come from? Now, we knew they made millstones here in the United States. They made them all across Europe and probably in every country in the world. So we knew this was going to be quite a challenge, trying to figure out where these come from. We had us an ace in the hole. That man that owned that mill did not keep his records in the mill. He kept them in his house. So when we bought the stones, the mill records automatically go with the stone.
Okay.
3 of us sat down at the kitchen table one night with 3 years of paperwork. We started going through this 1 page at a time, all in the hopes of finding one piece of paper that might give us a clue. We'd been at it for about an hour. All of a sudden, Bob says, "Hold on, I think I've got it, something." What he had found was the original bill of sale. This set of stones not only were the same size as our original set, they were made in the same stone quarry.
Wow.
By the same company. We bought us a set of $52,000 millstones for $5,000. we got off lucky and we knew it. 4 years ago, we got to wondering how much is a new set today. We called the company, not including the shipping, $110,000 with a 5-year wait on getting your stone. We had no idea that millstones were that big of a thing. It just blew our mind. Now, these stones are turning about 350, 400 RPMs, and they'll grind somewhere between 350 and 400 pounds of cornmeal in an hour's time. Last year, we ground a little over 400,000 pounds of corn. We bagged over 700,000 pounds of meal product. You got that much on hand, you better have a market for it. This restaurant, the one across the street, 3 other restaurants, and 2 bakeries buy all the meal products from us. We have a huge wholesale business. Plus, we sell tons of it out here and the internet. Now, with all of this grinding, stones are going to get dull. So once a year, we have to sharpen. It's called dressing the millstone. See, the weight of the stone does the grinding, but you have to have a place for the cornmeal to go to. You step back this way here. These stones have grooves cut in them. That bottom stone, that is called the bed stone. That is the stationary stone. It does not turn. It has a grooves cut in the top of it. The top stone, the one that you can see here, that's called the runner stone. That's the only one that's going to be turning. It has a grooves cut in the bottom of it. What we're going to do is go in, separate these stones, and cut those grooves a little deep. First thing we do, we take all this wooden structure loose. That lifts straight up. We just set it aside. We'll lower this big jack down. Then we'll get these right here. These were made over at the old forge for this mill. You notice the eyes on them? They fit right over those hooks. Now that top stone has a hole drilled in the side of it on each side. We run in big bolts in there, start cranking this thing up. It looks like a big set of ice stoppers. I am telling you, this thing is a monster to lift. 6 years ago, they were lifting the stone up one day. That beam started cracking. We did not want to lose the original jack beam in here. So they put some steel in here to give it a little bit of support. That jack does some serious popping and cracking. It will give you the heebie-jeebies. That jack broke, that stone's going through the floor, and you're going with it. So you don't need to be worried about your feet. Once we get the stone lifted up, then this whole thing will just swing around to the side. We'll bring it around to about right in here. Here's what it's going to look like. Now, both these stones are the same size. Now that we have the 2 stones separated, we have to turn this stone upside down because we got to cut the grooves on the bottom side of it. That takes 4 people, 2 of us on each side. We'll start rocking this thing back and forth. You're only getting about 1 inch or 2 each time. Takes about 35, 45 minutes till you finally get it to the top. Once we get it to the top at a designated signal, we turn that thing loose and we get away because we have no idea knowing if one of these bolts is going to come flying out. This thing is scary as hell. We get that stone turned upside down, then we call the millwrights in. These millwrights, there's 2 of them. They work for a company out of Massachusetts. This is all they do is sharpen millstones. They come in here, they got little miniature jackhammers and grinders. 2 of them working 2 days to cut those grooves in those stones. When I worked here full time, we did not use the millwrights. We didn't have miniature jackhammers. We didn't have miniature grinders. Cut this stone by hand. That's a picture of me when I was 15 years old. That stone is hard. That took 3 of us 3.5 days to cut those grooves in those stones. Oh, every time you hit that stone, that flint will fly. If it hits you, it'll cut you like a razor blade. Took 3.5 days for three of us to do that. We get those stones sharpened, we'll go ahead and put it all back together, and then we'll be ready to start grinding. When we grind grits are ground coarser than cornmeal. That means you are going to have to lift that top stone up just a little bit. And that's what this jack is for. That is on a worm gear. That will lift that shaft up that's holding that top stone. Back in 1921, 102 years ago, they put a vacuum system in this mill. It still works to this day. Pull that plug out of the floor. Get this right here. Go in here, just like that, right down that hole. Okay, turn the vacuum on, then we start the mill up. That vacuum will suck that corn meal right up that pipe. Takes it upstairs into a set of cisterns. The first thing it's going to do is sift off the bran. This is the outside hull of that bran of corn. That'll fall into a sack. We mix other bran with it. That goes to the farmer as cow feed. Then we sift off the corn flour and the corn meal. That goes to the distillery over here. They use that for making mash, turning it into liquor. What you have left is the heart of the corn, and that is your grits. They bring grain in here twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays. They dump it right here into this pit. That elevator I showed you, that is for this pit. We got 3 big grain bins upstairs. Like you can probably see that steel right there on the side of that beam. We had to support that, push an extra support in there. But one of the boys will be up there and they'll be pulling the levers to whichever bin can fill it up. As we need grain, then it's grabbing the bed back there. This right here is a little electric mill. It's got a set of stones in it about this big round. We use that for grinding the popcorn. Popcorn makes the best breading, like breading fish, vegetables, and stuff. So we use popcorn here. I mean, it is by far the best. The problem with popcorn is an extremely hard grain. We are not going to be wearing our big stones out grinding popcorn. So they bought this little mill out here. And we get a brand new set of stones in this thing. This thing tomorrow morning. 1889. 1889 was the year they first started refining white flour. Before then, all of your flours were all whole grain flour. Whole wheat, rye, pumpernickel. They made flour out of a lot of different grains. They first started refining white flour. This is something no one had ever seen before. The bakers, they got a hold of it. They were baking cakes that would weigh a fourth of what somebody else's cake would weigh. The housewives, they got a hold of it, and I'll guarantee you, when that first pan of biscuits come out of the oven, and that woman's husband bit into them, that wheat will come down this chute and drop into this first set of rollers. All this first set of rollers is going to do is crack the wheat. The elevator's going to carry it all upstairs. There they will sift off the bran outside the hull. That'll fall in that same sack as a corn bran. And like I said earlier, that goes to the farmer as cow feed. Mm-hmm. Everything else will come back downstairs and drop into the second set of rollers. It is ground a little finer. Back upstairs again for its second trip up. There they sift off the heart of the wheat. This is the most nutritious part of the wheat. That also goes to the farmer. This time is hog feed. That's called wheat shorts or hog shorts. The cows get this part. The hogs get this part. All you have left is nothing but starch. And it is ground really, really fine in that last set of rollers. When it goes upstairs for its last and final sifting, it will go through a set of sifters up there that are made of French silk. 30,000 holes to the square inch on that silk. It come out of that sifter, it drops down into a big old box that's got a set of paddles in it. There is where they will add a chemical dry bleach, and that's where you get that nice white fluffy flour. Since animals got all the good, you got all the bad. You also get that old saying of the whiter the bread, the sooner you're dead. Okay. Any questions on this?
Oh no, this is incredible.
Okay, we're going to be finishing the tour up on the Civil War. Everybody knows that Tennessee was a Confederate state, right? What everybody does not know. All but East Tennessee. East Tennessee was a lot like some of the counties over in Virginia. Some of those counties over in Virginia did not want to secede from the Union.
Mm-hmm.
So they seceded from the state of Virginia. That is how West Virginia got formed. They tried to do the same thing here in East Tennessee.
State of Franklin.
Yep. It failed by 3 votes. The man that owned this mill at the time was a Union sympathizer. Fact is, his son was a colonel in the U.S. Cavalry. This mill owner wanted to make his own contribution towards the war effort. Plus, he wanted to make himself some money. We all know any time there's a war going on, somebody's making money off the whole deal. This man come up with a scheme. Had he gotten caught, they would have executed him on the spot. This mill is sitting right in the middle of the Confederacy. He has looms up on the 2nd floor where they are secretly weaving cloth to be made into uniforms for the Union Army.
Wow.
He had went down to the old tannery, brought leather up here. They were making shoes, boots, belts, harnesses, anything leather the Union Army needed made was all secretly made on the 2nd floor. 3rd floor, military hospital. 11 soldiers died in this. They did have a couple of battles here, and a little one here in Pigeon Forge. But the bigger of the two was fought in Gothenburg. What they were fighting over were the saltpeter mines. You know what saltpeter is?
Gunpowder.
That's right. You cannot make gunpowder without it.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the 3 key ingredients in gunpowder. They had extremely rich saltpeter mines all around Gothenburg.
Yep.
You see, at this time, East Tennessee was under Union control. North Carolina was still being held by the Confederate Army. Gothenburg is only 10 miles from the North Carolina line. The Confederate Army was very, very much aware of those saltpeter mines. They wanted them shut down. They sent soldiers across the mountain. The miners were working. Soldiers start shooting at the miners. Nobody wants to be working, but somebody's shooting at them. Within 3 days' time, all of the saltpeter mines are shut down. With the Civil War going on, the Union Army was going through some tremendous amounts of gunpowder. Within a month's time, they were starting to feel the effects of not having those saltpeter mines available. They needed those mines opened back up. They brought soldiers from Knoxville to Gothenburg, and they had about an hour and a half battle. Unbelievable. No one died on the battlefield itself. They did have a lot of wounded soldiers. Several of them seriously wounded. They captured some Confederate soldiers. The more seriously wounded were brought here to the hospital. The Confederate soldiers they captured, they took them to Sevierville, locked them up in the county jail. That night, the Confederate cavalry crossed the mountain and raided the county jail. They broke every one of the prisoners out of the jail. They locked the home guard up in their own jail and successfully, without ever firing a single shot, got all of the Confederate prisoners back into North Carolina. Any questions on this story?
Oh no, this has exceeded my expectations already. This is awesome.
Three of the 11 soldiers that died in this field died from wounds off the battlefield. They died here in the field, not on the battlefield. Any questions?
Oh no, this is...
I appreciate you coming.